Hello everybody, this is John Droney here, and welcome to the last episode of Season 1 of Godzilla and His Amazing Friends with audio commentary. Much like every other episode with audio commentary, I will provide you with some facts about what goes on in the episode, as well as some trivia that was going on in the episode as well. Also, since this is the season finale of Season 1 of the series, I will be providing you with some spoilers to Season 2, but not enough to ruin the series for you, since this is a treat for all those who have been watching these audio commentaries, so let's get started here. Now, of course, we are opening up with stock footage from Episode 12. Geronimon has revived Golza, Bemular, and Kelbeam to have them fight against Godzilla. The reason why he revived those three monsters were for two reasons. One, because they were killed by Godzilla, and because of which they have harbored a deep grudge against Godzilla for killing them from beyond the grave, which Godzilla tends to do with some monsters in the series, and as well as a way of saying thank you to all the people who have been watching and supporting the series for so long as they have. If for anyone that actually remembers back then, while the episode was being created, I had set up a poll that asks which monster was your favorite that Godzilla fought and killed in Season 1. And so I looked back at that and I wanted to see which monster people liked most. What I didn't reveal is that I would be using these monsters to fight against Godzilla in this episode as my way of saying thank you for watching the series. So basically this is my treat to the fans for watching the show. So thank you guys for voting and thank you for watching the series. It's going to keep going on so long as it's being supported, and I owe it all to you guys for watching it as long as you have. And now we start off the fight. As usual, Golza. At the time, episode 5 was the most popular episode in the series, so I figured on having Golza do most of the fighting of the three monsters that get revived, because, like I said, everybody voted on him the most, so therefore I should have given him the most attention of the three. And that's basically what I have to say for the three monsters. You'll notice that since this is 4-on-1, I did want to make Godzilla a little bit more, not weak, but limited in power, because where it's been 1-on-1 or 2-on-1, now he's fighting four monsters, all of which have superpowers in their own right, or as you could say, 3 or 3.5-on-1, since Geronimon is still considered so weak. And also, seeing as Golza was number 1, Kelbeam was number 2, which I kind of have a given, thanks to Kyle for helping me write that episode. Episode 11, The Bad Seed. So I had Kelbeam do the second most fighting, because, like I said, he was ranked number 2. And here was a tricky scene right here where what happened here is that because Kelbeam is supposed to have a long tail, Godzilla was pulling Kelbeam's tail back so that he could kick it. Originally the scene was going to feature Kelbeam being kicked after sliding back, but unfortunately that would have created a continuity error, so it was actually altered here. And this scene right here, of course, now we talk about Bemular. Because of his limited capabilities as a figure, I I had to give him the least amount of action, since, like I said, very limited, and in most of his appearances, all he's doing is just blasting something or just getting manhandled by an Ultra. And of course, Geronimon's role as a weak character, he usually fights from the sidelines unless he has backup, which comes in the form of his zombified monsters, which he's revived here. As you can see here with him walking up to Godzilla here, and him smacking Godzilla around, he's basically showing off that, I'm stronger than you now because I have backup, and I have my, quote, friends, which are more like servants, because he's revived them and they do his bidding. So that's what that scene there was to entail. Also, this brief scene here with Godzilla and Bemular, this is actually green screen footage, especially with Bemular's scene here. I wanted to experiment more with green screen live action footage in the series, but because my series is sort of a staple of complete and total stop motion, I still want to do a sort of tradition like this, not as a full-time thing, but like as a part-time treat, because it does come in handy, but I still want to stick to my signature style of mostly stop motion footage. So, yeah, that was basically a little treat, and because the scenes were sort of hard to pull off even with photography. So, expect that a little bit more for season 2, sort of small cuts of live action footage, but not to the point where it's so obvious. And now for this scene right here with Anguirus and Rodan returning. Basically what happened in episode 12 was that Anguirus and Rodan, even though they were sent away by Godzilla to let Godzilla deal with Geronimon on his own, Anguirus and Rodan have actually recruited the other monsters that Godzilla had made friends with, like Agira, Gorosaurus, and Baragon, to help them, evening the odds against Godzilla, because Godzilla was basically being overpowered by 4 monsters. And also I should reiterate here again is that even though these monsters were powerful in the living, as zombies they're actually significantly weaker as opposed to their original forms, because they're pretty much undead. So I wanted to show off that even though they were once strong as zombies, they're weak even to the normal monsters. So, hence why Agira is having an easy time in, beating up Golza on her own. And so, while we're introducing ourselves now to Gorosaurus and Baragon, I'll bring this up since a lot of people have asked about this. Baragon, the reason for Baragon's appearance, again, I'll repeat myself, is that Anguirus and Rodan recruited a lot of monsters to help Godzilla, and Baragon was in the area at the time, so he could help Godzilla. And since he's appeared, and that's just about all the information I've divulged on him, I should probably mention this. In Season 2, Baragon's actually going to play somewhat of a slightly more noticeable role. For you bronies out there, Baragon is going to be part of a group along with Manda and Varen, who are going to act as sort of underdog-esque monsters. Unlike Anguirus, Baragon, Manda, and Varen are sort of like weaker versions of Godzilla's friends. Like, Baragon is the Godzilla, Varen is the Rodan, and Manda is, in a slight ways, the Anguirus. And before I go on any further, Spear. Yeah, Godzilla just basically speared Bemular for that scene. So, anyway, back on to the 3 monsters. Yeah, that's basically just a little bit of spoiler, since now that December's nearly over, I'll be going back onto this. So yeah, Baragon, I'm just going to confirm this, he will be returning for Season 2, as well as Varen and Manda for the series, so look forward to them when they come out. And now for Gamora's return. Now basically, he's finally shaking off the effects of Eleking's paralysis. He's still feeling a little bit weaker when you saw that brief little stumble there. And basically what's going on now is that he's remembering back to when Eleking and Geronimon double-teamed him, and going back onto how he felt that his pride was shook when Godzilla spared him. However, when he sees Godzilla, Anguirus, and Rodan coming in to save him from behind, Gamora finally begins to realize that even though Godzilla and Anguirus, even though he doesn't hang around with Godzilla that much, he can finally see that Godzilla does see a friend in him, and is now finally understanding that, being full of pride does not mean that it's a good thing. I mean, having friends around to help you is what's important. So he's finally beginning to understand that maybe he shouldn't have let his pride get to his head, and is now seeing Godzilla for the friend he was since he went through the trouble of saving him. And with that all being said, I should probably mention why Gamora was removed from the series, since I'm assuming a lot of people have already seen the episode. The reason I asked Gamora was for one main reason: competition. And I think I might have mentioned this or teased this in episode 2's audio commentary, but since I used the Ultra Galaxy version of Gamora, that was clearly too much of a powerful ally for Godzilla. If anything, Gamora would have broken off and become somewhat of a competition for Godzilla, and would have clearly beaten him if this were the real show of Godzilla. So I actually intended on writing out Gamora in a way to remind viewers that, the series is about Godzilla, not Gamora. Otherwise, I wouldn't have named it Godzilla and His Amazing Friends. And a little bit of trivia behind that is that originally the episode for Gamora's farewell was actually much more different. Instead, what it was going to be about was Gamora was actually going to be retrieved by Ray, who was going to arrive and use Litra and King to fight Godzilla, only to have Gamora stop Godzilla and explain the truth to Godzilla. And realizing that he has to go back to his master, Ray retrieves Gamora and leaves with Zap Spacey. But I decided not to go with that because, again, I wanted to show that my series is original and not just part of another Ultra series, so I decided to axe that. And now, once again, we are being reminded that this is the Fighting Evolution Rebirth version of Geronimon, because this Feather Spear attack that you're seeing right now, this actually is his killing move as seen in the video game. So, again, while Geronimon is considered weak in comparison to Godzilla, I wanted to update his abilities so that they'd be more on par with Godzilla and more interesting. And with this little scene here with Gamora being killed, I actually intended it to be literally seamlessly animated as like how the deaths occur in the game. But unfortunately, the program Pinnacle Studio 12 was not very advanced at the time, and I couldn't get the effect down as much as I could, so I had to improvise with that little intercut scene with all the feathers stabbing Gamora instead. And with this all being said, now with Godzilla's scene here where he realizes Gamora was killed just for sacrificing his life, like I sort of mentioned in episode 12, Godzilla and Geronimon's rivalry or hatred for one another is rooted from something that's happened in prior events to the series, which I should hopefully be able to get onto as the series goes down the road. And the fact that Gamora has sacrificed his life and has died from protecting Godzilla is causing him intense pain as well as emotional rage. Hence why I include the Godzilla March theme here. Or at least I think it's the Godzilla March. I usually mix them up. But yeah, now Godzilla is totally pissed and is ready to just about kill Geronimon to settle the score from what's happened in the past. So, that's basically what this scene is here. Godzilla's pissed, he wants to end it, but Geronimon manages to escape yet again, and like the good reoccurring villain, he manages to escape, leaving Godzilla suffering from emotional trauma. And I believe this is just about it. The episode's almost over. So, with this all being said, Geronimon is escaping, Godzilla's vowing vengeance, and sadly, I should probably mention this, I don't know if Gamora is going to return, but I wouldn't cross my fingers if I were you. Again, like I said, Gamora is too much competition for the series to be an ally of Godzilla, especially the Ultra Galaxy version. I could use the normal version, but again, I don't know. That's not really what I want to do with Gamora's character. So, yeah, don't expect to see Gamora return in the series. However, and again, because of Godzilla's emotional trauma, the other monsters are there to comfort him, specifically, pretty much all the monsters, as they too know about Godzilla's troubled past. So, this is basically a scene of comforting to know that despite Godzilla's hard times, he will always have his friends be there to comfort him, even in this time of sadness. And so with this all being said, this concludes the last episode of Season 1 of Godzilla and His Amazing Friends with audio commentary. And I'll see you all next year for Season 2. Thank you for watching.